I feel like you have probably been culturally conditioned to believe that your peace of mind, absolutely requires a TSA security checkpoint.
100%. It's like we can't relax unless we're taking off your shoes at an airport.
Right. Think about that familiar, just desperate urge to get away. You know the one. The emails are piling up, the chores are multiplying, and your immediate instinct is to just want to teleport to a beach or, I don't know, a cabin in the woods or some European cafe.
Yeah, we've completely internalized this idea that true rest demands a passport
Mhm.
and a plane ticket. And, well, a pretty significant financial investment in a destination that's thousands of miles away.
Exactly. But what if the ultimate getaway requires literally 0 miles of travel?
I mean, we constantly externalize the solution to our stress. We assume that we couldn't possibly fix how we feel in our current environment, so we had to physically transport our bodies across an ocean just to feel better.
We basically equate geographic distance with emotional distance from our problems.
Ex-
And that is the core assumption we are unpacking today. We are doing a deep dive into a single, highly thought-provoking source. It's an article by Jamaican writer and blogger Deon Cecile, and it's titled "The Perfect Getaway Is a Mindset: Why Peace Shouldn't Depend on a Passport."
It's such a great piece.
It really is. So our mission today is to break down Dion's philosophy and pull out a practical, accessible blueprint for finding wonder and rest exactly where you're sitting right now. Because let's put our cards on the table here. I love traveling to exotic locations.
That's absolutely me too.
I love the airport energy, the novelty of a new time zone, all of it. But Dion is pointing out this massive blind spot in how we actually define a getaway.
Yeah, she is.
Yeah.
Because if we only view a getaway as a literal physical departure, we're basically setting ourselves up for chronic burnout.
Right.
Her writing suggests that by waiting for that grand departure, we might actually be completely misunderstanding what a getaway is designed to do for our nervous systems in the first place.
Okay, let's unpack this. I want to start where she starts, with this impromptu road trip she took with a friend to St. Thomas, Jamaica.
Oh, I love this story.
So, they didn't have an itinerary. They had no final destination plugged into the GPS. They literally just decided to drive.
Which is, right off the bat, an immediate departure from how modern adults operate.
Totally.
I mean, we usually schedule our time down to the quarter hour, so the mere act of getting in a car without a destination is like a rebellion against that constant demand for productivity.
It really is, and that lack of an agenda pays off for them. So they are driving along, and they stumble upon Roselle Falls. And Dion actually notes that she had passed this exact spot before, but she had never really seen it.
Right, she's probably just focused on getting from point A to point B.
Exactly. But this time, she literally yells at her friend to stop the car.
Wait, she yelled.
Yeah. She yells, "Stop," because she is completely mesmerized. So they pull over, they get out, and she just stands there watching the water. She finds this profound sense of peace right there on the side of the road in her own country at a spot she had just previously ignored.
The internal dialogue she has after this moment is what really elevates the story for me. Because her friend snaps a photo of her looking incredibly serene by the water. And later, Dion looks at that picture and starts, interrogating her own baseline habits.
Yeah, she starts asking the hard questions.
Right. She asks herself, why doesn't she explore the hidden gems in Jamaica more often? Why is she constantly waiting for a plane ticket to create moments that make her feel alive? She identifies this huge psychological trap. We put our capacity for joy on layaway until we are officially on vacation.
I love that phrase, putting joy on layaway. And she actually addresses the practical friction of this, too. She anticipates someone reading the story and thinking, well, taking a random road trip with no destination is just a waste of expensive gas.
Which is such a common reaction.
It is. But her response is brilliant. She says, yes, gas is expensive, but so is a therapy session. So is a doctor's visit for a stress-induced illness. She frames this spontaneous joy-seeking as a form of preventative health care.
That is such a good way to look at it.
Right. I mean, you take your vitamins because you know it prevents a large medical crisis down the road. Deon is arguing that spontaneously investing in your peace, even if it's just, burning a tank of gas to go stare at a waterfall, is an investment in your mental baseline.
Reframing the cost of a tank of gas as preventative emotional health care forces us to look at how we allocate our resources. We become so obsessively focused on hoarding our time and hoarding our money for one massive escape in the summer.
Yep, the big summer trip.
And because of that, we go completely blind to the restorative environments right outside our doors.
So that brings up a really good question. If a local waterfall or a scenic drive can provide that much restoration, Why are we universally convinced that we need to fly to Paris or Santorini to find rest?
No.
Like, why is a boarding pass the ultimate, unquestioned symbol of relaxation?
Well, it comes down to a false equivalence. Deon points out that the excitement of a boarding pass is beautiful, but we falsely equate the physical distance with internal peace.
We think miles equal calm.
Exactly. We operate under this delusion that if we are 3,000 miles away from our office building, we are automatically 3,000 miles away from our stress. But her core insight is that a getaway is not about distance. It is entirely about intentions.
See, that distinction, intentions over distance, it sounds great in theory, but let me push back on behalf of anyone listening right now who, say, works from home or manages a busy household.
Okay, let's hear it.
When you are sitting in your own living room and you are staring at a laundry pile you've been meaning to fold for 3 days, and your laptop is sitting right there on the kitchen island glowing with unread messages, how do you actually execute that mindset shift?
It's tough.
The physical environment is literally screaming responsibility at you. You can't just intend the laundry away.
The physical environment acts as a trigger for the stress response. Absolutely. It's classical conditioning. If you don't change the geography, changing the psychology requires deliberate interference.
Okay, deliberate interference, like that.
And this brings us to why Deon's article is so useful. She doesn't just leave us with abstract philosophy. She outlines specific, actionable ways to redefine our geography and short-circuit those stress triggers without leaving town.
Perfect. Let's walk through those practical tips. The first one she suggests is becoming a tourist in your own community. She admits that she is guilty of driving past local beaches, museums, and heritage sites every single day without ever stopping to experience them.
Which happens to all of us. And it happens because the human brain is basically an energy conservation machine.
Right, it's trying to save battery.
Exactly.
Well,
We experience this phenomenon called habituation. When you navigate the same route every day, your brain actually stops processing the visual details to save cognitive energy.
wow, really?
Yeah, it filters out the local museum or the park because those elements are predictable. You go on autopilot, taking a new route or visiting a restaurant you've never tried forces the brain to wake up and process new data.
Okay, so when I go to a new city and immediately look up like the weird little museums or the local coffee shops, that novelty is what makes me feel invigorated. I am processing new data.
Precisely.
And Deon is saying we can manufacture that exact same novelty at home.
Yes. Novelty forces the hippocampus to engage differently, which actually slows down our perception of time.
Oh, is that why the first few days of a vacation feel so long?
That's exactly why. The first few days feel long while a normal work week just blurs together.
Uh-huh.
You can trigger that time dilation effect in your own zip code by intentionally seeking out unfamiliar spaces.
Okay, but what if you can't even leave the house to be a tourist? That brings us to her second tip, which directly addresses the friction of that laundry pile we talked about earlier.
Right, the deliberate interference.
Yes. She suggests creating a literal vacation day at home. And the example she uses is so good. It's from 2021, during the height of the COVID lockdowns when going out wasn't an option.
Oh, I remember this part.
For her birthday, she decided to create a Jamaican beach day right inside her house, specifically in her passageway. She put on a bathing suit, a sun hat, poured some rum, turned on music, and surrounded herself with her houseplants.
That is amazing.
She writes, "You couldn't tell me I wasn't at the beach, minus the sand, of course."
It's a striking visual, and it underscores one of the most vital quotes in the piece. The point is not perfection. The point is presence.
Yes.
She wasn't trying to hallucinate a sandy beach. She was deliberately altering the sensory input of her immediate space to break the associative loop of her home.
It makes me think about how we manage a frozen computer.
How do you mean?
Well, when a computer slows down, it's usually because there are just too many background apps eating up the memory, right? We're trying to run our main program, but the machine is paralyzed by everything else running invisibly in the background.
That's a great analogy.
Our homes are like that. The laundry, the bills on the counter, the laptop, they're background apps draining our mental RAM. Deon putting on a swimsuit and playing music wasn't just a gimmick. It was a hard reboot.
Right, a complete system restart.
She was forcing all those background apps to close so she could dedicate all her sensory processing power to the immediate experience of the rum, the music, and the plants.
The sensory disruption analogy is incredibly apt. You are actively choosing to close the productivity applications to free up bandwidth for the vacation application.
I love that, the vacation application.
She suggests other variations of this too, like an Italian evening with pasta and jazz or a Paris-inspired morning with pastries and a French film. You are manipulating the sensory environment to cue the nervous system that it is safe to downregulate.
Okay, so the third major tip she outlines is for those who might feel physically confined or who are maybe restricted by budget or mobility. She points to exploring the world through free virtual experiences. She specifically highlights platforms like Google Arts and Culture, where you can take immersive 360-degree tours of places like the Louvre or the British Museum.
Which is such an underutilized
It
resource.
really is.
Yeah.
But I have to play devil's advocate here for a second.
Go for it.
If someone is burnt out from staring at spreadsheets or Zoom calls for 8 hours a day, how does staring at a screen to look at a digital painting actually provide rest? Isn't that just like more screen fatigue?
That is a very valid concern, but it actually misunderstands the mechanics of cognitive fatigue.
Oh, really?
Yeah, screen fatigue is rarely just about the literal light hitting our retinas.
Hmm.
It's heavily tied to the type of neural pathways we are exhausting.
Okay, explain that.
Well, data entry, managing emails, or navigating conflict on a video call, those require intense, analytical left brain processing and sustained executive function.
So the exhaustion is from the type of thinking, not just the glowing rectangle.
Correct. When you switch to a virtual tour of the Louvre, you are engaging entirely different cognitive networks. You are activating spatial processing, aesthetic appreciation, and curiosity.
It's a completely different mental gear.
Exactly. It's a visual and intellectual departure from your norm. Navigating a 360-degree historical site allows the analytical parts of your brain to rest while the creative, exploratory parts wake up.
That makes a lot of sense.
Right. For someone without the funds to travel, dedicating a Saturday afternoon to wandering through the British Museum virtually can legitimately disrupt a cycle of burnout by simply changing the cognitive load.
You are changing the mental diet, even if the plate and the screen looks the same. So we have these three robust strategies: exploring local novelty, creating sensory disruptions at home, and taking virtual cognitive departures.
All great tools.
But these feel like activities we schedule. What does this philosophy mean for an average Tuesday morning where we don't have time for a virtual museum tour or a hallway beach party?
Well, Deon anticipates this transition. She moves from these constructed, scheduled activities to a broader philosophy of romanticizing ordinary moments.
Romanticizing the ordinary.
Yeah, it is about fundamentally changing how we interface with the mundane realities of daily life.
She gives some simple, beautiful examples of this, like drinking your morning coffee outside instead of chugging it over the kitchen sink while scrolling through your phone,
Yeah.
or taking yourself out to lunch. She specifically notes that watching the rain is one of her favorite things to do.
Notice the underlying mechanism in all those examples, though. Vacations feel magical because we finally grant ourselves permission to be present.
Oh, wow. Permission.
Yes, we stop rushing toward the next objective long enough to actually experience the current one. But ordinary life contains that exact same texture and beauty if we just stop rushing through it.
We really do treat permission like it's a scarce resource, don't we?
We absolutely do.
We feel like we need a special occasion to use the good dishes or a designated holiday to just sit and watch the weather. But as Deon writes, you do not need permission to create meaningful moments.
That's a powerful statement.
It is, and it bridges into another statement she makes that completely reframes the entire concept of a getaway. She writes, "Rest is not laziness, it is maintenance."
We really need to pause and dissect why that statement hits so hard.
Yeah, let's do it.
In many modern industrialized societies, we have inherited a cultural metric that equates stillness with unproductivity and unproductivity with moral failure.
Right. If you're sitting still, you're failing.
Exactly. We are taught that rest is a reward you have to earn through exhaustion. By calling rest maintenance, Deon completely strips away the guilt associated with those productivity metrics.
It shifts rest from a luxury to a functional necessity. Think about it in terms of vehicle maintenance. You would never drive a car for 50,000 miles without an oil change, running the engine into the red every single day, and then expect one single trip to the mechanic to reverse all the internal friction and damage.
No, the engine would literally blow up.
Right. But that is exactly what we do with our minds and bodies. We run the machine into the ground for 51 weeks a year, and we expect a 7-day trip to a resort to fix a seized engine. It is mathematically impossible.
The math doesn't work, and the biology doesn't work.
No.
The human nervous system cannot endure chronic stress for months and immediately snap back to a baseline of peace just because the coordinates changed.
That just doesn't work like that.
And this concept of rest as maintenance ties directly into the broader context of who Deon Cecile is as a creator. If you read her bio at the end of the article, she writes for women over 40, focusing heavily on progress over perfection, authentic living, and specifically decluttering.
But she has a very specific definition of decluttering, right? She isn't advocating for, like, the extreme minimalist approach where you throw away everything you own until your house looks like an empty hospital room.
No, not at all. Her approach to decluttering is about maintaining the things, habits, and environments that bring you peace.
I love that.
Her philosophy on redefining the getaway aligns flawlessly with this lifestyle. Scheduling these mini escapes, like an unplugged evening, a solo cafe date, a Sunday where absolutely no work is permitted, is a form of life decluttering.
It's ongoing emotional maintenance.
Yes, you are clearing out the psychological clutter on a daily or weekly basis so it never builds up enough to crush you.
Instead of a massive panicked purge once a year, which is the desperate, expensive vacation,
Yeah.
you are just continuously tidying up your mental space. You are keeping the oil fresh. You are keeping the engine running smoothly.
And when you consistently manufacture small moments of restoration, you remove the heavy burden you place on your annual travel. You stop depending entirely on dramatic, geographic escapes to feel emotionally regulated because you are no longer living in a constant state of deficit.
Man, we have covered a vast amount of ground here. Moving from the neurological reasons we ignore our own backyards to the necessity of sensory disruption, all the way to viewing rest as crucial maintenance rather than just a lazy indulgence.
It's a complete paradigm shift.
It really is. To bring this directly back to you, the listener, the central takeaway from Deon Cecile's observations is that peace does not require a flight confirmation email. It is a decision to slow down, to look at your familiar surroundings with fresh, curious eyes, and to cultivate presence in the life you are already living. I want to leave you with the ultimate question Deon poses in her piece. What if the life you need a break from does not require escape, just more intention?
It challenges the very foundation of why we pack our bags in the first place.
It really does.
Building on Dion's insights, there is a fascinating contradiction to consider here. She notes that some people travel constantly, right, collecting stamps in their passports, yet they remain entirely disconnected from themselves.
Yeah, they're everywhere but nowhere.
Exactly. It forces us to ask, could our cultural obsession with distant, exotic travel actually be an elaborate distraction?
Oh, wow.
If we are perpetually looking toward the next horizon, planning the next itinerary, and navigating the logistics of new cities, we never actually have to sit still and look at ourselves.
That is a staggering thought. Could the ultimate, most challenging adventure simply be the brave act of sitting quietly in your own home, without the noise of a new destination, and finally learning how to be fully present with who you are?
It's the hardest trip you'll ever take.
Truly. It's something to chew on the next time you find yourself stuck in traffic, gripping the steering wheel, wishing you were 1,000 miles away. You might not need to change your coordinates at all. You might just need to change your mindset.
Just change the lens.
Yeah. And perhaps when you get home today, put your phone on, do not disturb, pour a drink, and head straight for the passageway.